Today on Locked On Rockies, the scoreless streak was snapped, but the Rockies fall to the Dodgers, making Rockies history twice yesterday.
You are Locked On Rockies, your daily Colorado Rockies podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Rock on Rockies fans, welcome into the Locked On Rockies podcast for today, the 15th day of April in the year 2025. I'm your host of the Locked On Rockies podcast, Paul Holden, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where you can find your team every day. And if your team is the Colorado Rockies, guess what? You're in the right spot, because that's what we do around here each and every day, free and streaming on your favorite streaming services and on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel, where you can be part of the show. You can fire off your Rockies hot takes. You can let me know what's on your mind when it comes to the Colorado Rockies, like a lot of you did yesterday. Thank you so much for tuning in, firing off those hot takes. Hey, even if you disagree with me, that's part of the show. That's what we do. That's how we handle things here on the Locked On Rockies podcast. We're going to, of course, dive into the fact that the Rockies broke their scoreless inning streak last night, but not before they set a new franchise record for longest consecutive or most consecutive innings gone without scoring a run. I believe the official count ended up being about 32 innings. The previous franchise record was 30 games, or 30 innings, not 30 games. That would be something. Woof. This is bad. 30 games would be a whole new world bad. So we'll dive into that. Also heard something interesting from Ryan Spielberg, from Spilly there, about possible changes coming to the Colorado Rockies. And of course, unfortunately, and I want to put a little disclaimer on this one. As disappointed as I am about Kris Bryant going on the IL, this one is a sign that, I mean, another sign, I should say, that it's not anything that is about the preparation or about the people. I think, unfortunately, Kris Bryant's body is just saying, sorry, man, ain't working like that anymore. And I just feel like Kris Bryant's going to join a long list of athletes and people that have done great things, done awesome things, but there just comes to be a point where their body says no. And it certainly seems like that is the case right now for Kris Bryant. We'll dive into that and talk about that coming up here in just a little bit. And before we dive into everything here, I want to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $250 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins at FanDuel. So go check that out there. So, of course, yeah, the Rockies going into the game yesterday and up until, let's actually see which inning it was so I can get you the correct number. The Rockies did not score until the 6th inning yesterday, making the record there, was at 33 innings there, because they scored in the 6th. That should have been inning 34, if my math is correct. 33 innings without scoring a run. They finally get on the board. What was it? Farmer that was, or was it Martini? Let's see who did the damage there. I believe Martini got the hit, the double. Farmer drove him in, and then Hunter Goodman launched a nice solid home run there as well. I mean, got to be a great feeling swing for him, for Goodman there to get that there. And hey, at that point in that game and with everything was going on, it was just score. Don't go 4 complete games without it. They set the new record. But what is there to say about that I didn't say yesterday? What is there to say about that other than, I mean, May was cruising just like King was. I mean, you hear it on the broadcasts and such, that it's not just the Rockies it's not just the scorelessness of the Rockies. It's not just the fact that the Rockies are underperforming on offense. It's just they're being dominated. It's quick innings. It's low pitch counts. It's starters now in back-to-back games going deep into games at 60, 70 pitches and being incredibly efficient. And it's because the Rockies are swinging and missing. It's the Rockies are getting the weak contact. And one thing that's definitely true right now, and it was brought up on the broadcast a little bit yesterday too, and has been a couple of times, they're trying to do too much. Way too many guys are trying to change the entire season with one swing of the bat. And it kind of looks that way for Zach Veen right now in some ways. Got a walk yesterday, which is always good. but there's just so much where they go up there and it just looks like they're trying to hit home runs right away. They're trying to do this, they're trying to do that. I just would like to see them start kind of getting into the benefit of having these veterans in your lineup, like your Martinis and your Farmers, with the guys that are picking up hits and the guys that were successful. Mickey Moniak had 2 hits yesterday in the game as well. But these guys, I think, are the ones that can show, they've seen the major league pitching a bit. They've been there. They're more confident in their ability to take pitches. And that's the type of stuff you should be looking to take away from and work with those veteran guys to develop that eye. That's the thing. As much as it's a bummer to see Veen struggle as much as he has, and Amador has yet to do a lot in his really small sample here, I think being challenged and challenging these guys is a good thing. I just hope that there is some productive conversations happening with some guys that are like, this is what I'm looking at. This is what I look for. This is how I handle a 1-0 account, a 1-0 count, a 1-1 count. This is how I build my zone so I can get there. That is the benefit of having guys that have 500 plus at bats in the major league in your lineup right there. Is they can, I really hope that they can work with these especially Veen and Amador to really work on developing that pitch selection and developing that batter's eye, because we can point at and look at even Doyle and Tovar. Remember their first seasons as well, when it comes to striking out, when it comes to the pitch selection, when it comes to the aggression. We know it can get better. It's just hopefully that these guys we can start seeing that adjustment, because it's the strikeout problems of the Rockies are deeper than that. It's something where you still are watching this team. They didn't strike out double-digit times last night, which is always a plus, but they got 9 strikeouts still, and Dustin May had 7 of those strikeouts. So again, we're going back to just being, some pitchers are just able to get in a groove and be so dominant against the Rockies. I really did agree with the broadcast taking of this team is so frustrated. It's such a bad spot. They got to break this mental funk that they're trying to just do it all right away and just get it over with. But it's just not going to work that way. It's just not. It's gonna come through time and patience in some aspects with that, and it's going to come with building up the confidence in themselves at the dish to start locking in a little bit more. And for some guys that'll take time. For other guys, we do sit there and say, okay, it's time. The pressure's on. It's unfortunate to see Tovar come up in big situations this year and not be able to convert the way that we expect him to, especially at this point. Now he's got the hip. He took he got hit in the calf there pretty well, but it's also gets picked off and then comes up with as a go-ahead run late in the game and can't get the job done. Mixed in with the fact that, unfortunately, the Dodgers not only have to circle on their calendars when the Rockies are in town, but if they're going to get Antonio Senzatella. Now, Senza minimized the damage yesterday and didn't give up a whole ton of runs. But what we saw from Shohei and the fact that, again, Senza only made it 4 1/3 in that game, another game where he gives up 9 hits. It's such a dangerous game for it. Senza isn't missing the bats, and Senza isn't getting the weak contact. When you're giving up that many hits, it's a big problem, and it's something that, man, it just really feels like the Dodgers are locked in on Senza. It seems like that type of team is just not a team where that philosophy is going to work that well. But credit where credit is due. I mean, when you're talking about going up against a loaded lineup here in a time when your team is struggling and you'll hold them to only and you let up 4 earned runs. I mean, of course, the 4 is a bruise, but for how it was going, it could have gotten ugly real fast there. The big issue for the Rockies yesterday was walks. Luis Peralta, especially being the big walk allower. 3 walks allowed. Doesn't allow any earned runs. Escapes the jam there. But Kinley also with the walk, Senza with the walk. 5 walks for Rockies pitching yesterday to only 3 strikeouts. I mean, that's just such an eye-opening split there, especially when you consider and kind of reflect how often the Rockies strike out versus how little they strike out batters. It's just so eye-opening how different they are, and how flawed they are in those areas. I mean, I know Senza's not a strikeout pitcher. That's not his MO. That's not the point. But when you have 5 walks, and yes, Peralta was responsible for 3 out of those 5, but still, when your pitching staff as a whole walks more people than they strike out, that's a problem. That's not a winning formula right there either. That's something that we're going to have to work on, especially those walks we know can be a problem, and they will be a big problem for the Rockies against a team like the Dodgers. So yeah, I mean, scoreless streak is snapped, but the Rockies set 2 types of history yesterday. They set the longest consecutive innings without scoring streak in franchise history, and they're officially off to the worst start in franchise history. That's just fact, folks. That's just how it goes. And if you want, I mean, this team is desperate for something. You can tell how frustrated on how, and this was mentioned on the broadcast too. The game's not fun right now. How could the game be fun right now for those guys? This is a really tough start to the season. And we saw a pulse last night. We saw energy at the end. We saw a home run. We saw things start to pick up a little bit. We saw the Rockies threaten towards the end. They got to be able to start putting it all together and putting it together completely. And it's interesting. There's a lot of folks that are frustrated with the Rockies. There's a lot of folks that were frustrated with me by being frustrated with the Rockies, but it's just like, I guess my point is, it's just, do we just accept the norm? Do we accept the status quo and just say what it is here? And this is good points by Christopher M here. He wrote a lot of, he wrote a big, long stuff here, because, he's saying, hey, these are young guys. These are guys that we wanted to see. This is the struggles that they should go for. But it's like, should we really be all that surprised? I mean, should we be really that taken aback when we're saying we're rolling out a roster of young guys, we're trying out a lot of things, which is a very valid point. There's a lot of growth and a lot of learning still to do from these young guys, but like, that doesn't pass Ezequiel Tovar not being the offensive threat we wanted him to be so far. That doesn't pass Michael Toglia from making an improvement and not being statistically one of the worst batters this entire season. Ryan McMahon, where we got the hot and cold. Unfortunately, point to Chris Bryant. We've seen good stuff from Martini and Farmer, but those aren't the guys that I'm sitting here holding my breath that I need to see. I need to see Rockies veteran guys perform and be big time impact players as well. Yes, we need to allow Veen and Amador to more time, and Bouchard and some of these guys who are and Moniak. Yes, they need more consistency and more time at the major league level for sure. But that doesn't excuse the fact that it really does feel like there's nothing else really intimidating in the Rockies lineup. It doesn't really feel like the guys that are veteran Rockies players have taken the steps in the right direction. Unfortunately, Michael Toglia is looking he's getting unlucky with some of the hard hit stuff, but it's just like, that's a warning sign right there. So yes, we can't be too down on the fact that, hey, the Rockies are playing the young guys like we asked them to do. This is what we said. This is what we wanted. Yes, absolutely. And I am disappointed, though. I'm disappointed by the way that they haven't been able to come up and perform that we were hoping for, but there's still plenty of time. But that doesn't negate the fact that there are guys that need to be doing more for this team and aren't performing. And Christopher goes on to say, well, it's the players, it's not Bud Black. And you're right. But my biggest thing when it comes to the organizational changes that I call for, it's just look at the lack of energy. Look at the lack of difference. There's just not, it just doesn't seem to be working there. And if it isn't changing who's running it, it's at least will this team and will the people that run this team embrace a change of philosophy, embrace trying something different, embrace doing something different. And by what we've heard in the past and by what we've seen, I just don't think that's true. I don't believe in this team's ability to innovate, to find creative solutions to their problems. And I know how tech bro-y that sounds, but that's the job of some of these people. Your job is to figure out how to win, figure out how to unlock baseball at altitude. And I'm sorry, I just think that as Christopher points out at the end of their comment, I honestly don't believe baseball in a small market should exist, but it's just like, why not? When the Rockies are fun, when the Rockies are good, and when they've been successful like they've shown before, they're interesting, they're fascinating. People in Denver want to talk about it. People in the area want to talk about it. And I'm sorry, I do not count Denver as a small market. When you compare it to these other teams, yes, sure, but when you look at the national recognition and the national place that the other three major sports hold in the national discussion, it's totally different. Denver is not an East Coast big city, but it is definitely a place that's considered a big-time sports town with big-time sports performance. So if it's not going to be a change, if it's not a change of personnel, will there be a change of philosophy? And I just don't know if I can ever expect that to happen with this Rockies team. All right, let's talk about Chris Bryant, and I'm not going to dive into the way that maybe you think, for old ranting Paul's sake here, because this sucks. It doesn't suck just because he's not on the field and the contract and the things, but like, it is really, really hard to see when an athlete who's dedicated their life to not only being good, but being great, and you cannot deny the greatness of the past of Chris Bryant, for their body to let him down like this. It's just such a shame here. We're going to talk about that coming up next here on today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Before we do that, though, got to tell you about the folks that help make this show possible, and that includes FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are almost here, and FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action. Right now, when you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you'll get $250 in bonus bets if your bet wins. Play-in event going on. Luckily, our Denver Nuggets are sitting and relaxing here, getting ready for the bracket itself. But you got play-in basketball, really exciting matchups. Are you back in the Warriors? Maybe you think the Heat are going to go on a heater. Well, you can get in on all the action for yourself on FanDuel, and FanDuel makes the betting easy whether it's picking your favorite team or diving into player props. From three-pointers to steals to assists, FanDuel has so many ways to bet on your favorite player props. And not to mention just hoop stuff. If you are interested in some baseball stuff, hockey stuff, they got it all covered for you on the super easy-to-use and secure app. After the game tips off, you can even combine live prop bets into a same-game parlay for a chance to win big. Don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com. That's FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today after your first $5 bet wins. That's FanDuel.com. And remember to always play responsibly. This is the Locked On Rockies podcast. We're free and streaming on your favorite streaming services. Thanking you for making us your first listen of the day. We're free and streaming on your favorite streaming services, like as I mentioned there. Check us out on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel. That's why I appreciate when guys like Christopher come in here, giving me their thoughts, their comments here, and firing off their Rockies hot takes. A lot of people calling for the sale of the team again in the comments here. Just don't hold your breath, folks. That one I won't see coming. I don't see coming at any point. And it's just, as frustrated as you may be, I just don't. I think that it's too good of a setup for him to do that. But there's a lot of really big frustration here. I mean, and a lot of teams are sitting, or a lot of Rockies fans in the comments are unhappy with the status quo of the team, unhappy with the with Bud Black. We got it and stuff. There's not a lot of confidence right now, and there's also not a lot of confidence in me, depending on who you ask here, saying I don't know much about baseball and I don't live in Colorado, but can tell you that I grew up there. And if you see behind me, actually on that wall, that's my Rockies rookie hat from what I used to wear when I was a kid, when I was in the Rockies rookies program, and I used to be there. So hey, you don't have to like where I'm at, but there's a lot of really upset Rockies fans right now. A lot of people that want to be watching enjoyable, fun, competitive baseball, but there's a lot of frustration here for a lot of fans here. I mean, Matthew here says, The Rockies are near and dear to my heart, but when I left Denver, I just picked another team. It genuinely hurts to see what is happening, especially when you compare the Rockies to the D-backs, which I find to be analogous. I always feel like when I'm up or recording early, sometimes the multi-syllable words hit me, and I'm just like, blah. Let's see. This one's a pretty good one. Rolivias. See, again, this is one of those ones where they changed the name. It's a screen name. It's not. Anyway, White Sox were historically bad last season. Rockies, hold my IPA. Maybe hold my course there too. Maybe for that. Let's see. Our case is gotta love when Bud Black always says that's baseball after every single failure. And I'm sitting here thinking, no, that's Rockies baseball. Felix says we look so lost out there. There's just a lot here, and I appreciate what Marco mentioned in here about I'm bringing the passion here, being a voice of the fan. I mean, and again, I'm not the voice of every fan. I understand that. I try to be, and I try to at least give you my 2 cents on it, and that's why I think with this next one here, I really want to take I really want to take a lot of this, the hot take sports radio, sports podcast stuff out of this, because like Chris Bryant going on the IL is a huge disappointment, and it sucks, and the money and the contract and the underperformance and all that stuff. But like, it isn't the first time I've said this about Chris Bryant, and it might not be the last time. As according to Jared Greenspan here, this is from Bryant hits IL with back issues. Rocks hoping for quick return. Let's see. Manager Bud Black said Bryant was placed on the IL for precautionary reasons and is expected to return at the end of the 10 days, but added that his back is something Bryant will likely need to manage going forward. A lot of players, especially at this point in their career, have to manage certain things in their body, Black said. I think Chris had a real stringent back program that we're hopeful put him in a good position this season. This is just an aggravation. We don't want to take any step backwards by trying to push him through this one. Man, it just sucks, man. I mean, that plain and simple. It sucks for the Rockies. It sucks for Chris Bryant. It's degenerative back disease. I'm trying to see if I can get the actual with lumbar degenerative disc disease, a lower back injury associated with wear and tear of the spine. I am no doctor. I am no medical expert for the struggle. I mean, it makes total sense when you think about the struggles of Chris Bryant. It's like, when I hear the word disease, and when you hear it like that, it's like that, no wonder. Like no wonder this hasn't gone away. No, I mean, this is literally something that has been probably building and building and building, and now it's to the point where, what can you do? What can you do when your body has reached a point where it's just saying, no, man, I'm not doing this anymore. And I'm glad to hear there's optimism, but have we not heard about optimism about Bryant returning from the IL? And we've heard about this back program. And Chris Bryant hasn't even played in every game to start the season, and it's already acting up. This isn't a roast Chris Bryant thing here. No, it's a man that it just is another sign of, it really just seems like Chris Bryant's back is not healthy enough for him to be the level of player he wants to be, and be the level of consistency that he wants and the Rockies want. This is really tough when you have this official of a diagnosis. When it's something like this, at this point, Chris Bryant needs to do everything that he can to make sure that he's going to be able to walk and live a healthy life post-baseball. That is the most important part for him, the player, and him, the person. And truly, as much, because remember, folks, we ain't paying a dime for Chris Bryant. You and me, we're not paying anything for him. It's the Rockies. It's the organization. It's a totally different thing. Being frustrated about the contract, I understand, but like, this is a moment where you have to start looking at the human side of the game of baseball. And you have to realize that, holy cow, it doesn't matter what the back program, it doesn't matter how prepared you might be, it doesn't matter how much you can do certain things the right way. If your body starts telling you, if you got something up with your body, if you're fighting a disease, there's only so much you can do. And right now, when you're dealing with something as important as a back, not to mention, I mean, it's involved in everything with baseball, but not to mention it being involved in just about every other aspect of daily life. That's got to be the priority. And an already tough mental battle for Kris Bryant has just gotten more tough. Because as frustrated as we all can be as fans and as people on the outside, we don't even come close to scratching the surface of the frustration that Kris Bryant has probably felt. Yes, it's softened. The blow is softened by the fact that he's got the money. That's fine. But we know that that's not going to take away from athletes and their mindsets of how much they want to grind and contribute and be successful, especially when you're talking about an athlete that has won the World Series and has won an MVP. It's been tough, but it's been extra tough on Kris Bryant because he wants to contribute, he wants to get on the field, and he wants to help his team out. But when stuff like this comes up, I don't know. I'm hoping it's just a short stint. It is precautionary. Boom, we're set. A managed plan works for Kris Bryant. But that's just another piece of tough news to deal with and another hurdle for Kris Bryant to deal with and fight through there. Want to close out the show with an interesting little piece of audio that I heard. Well, I don't have the audio available, but I was on Mile High Sports and heard Spilly say something interesting. We're going to talk about that to close out the show. Coming up next on today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Before we do that, though, I want to tell you about the folks that help make this show possible, and that includes PrizePicks. Basketball and hockey playoffs are heating up, and there's no better way to turn your sports knowledge into real rewards than with PrizePicks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy. With PrizePicks, you simply pick more or less on at least 2 player projections, and you're in. You can even combine players across sports, basketball, hockey, baseball, and more for your chance to win up to 2,000 times your cash. Luka Doncic is going to be on the hardwood there in the postseason. Maybe going for that more than 28 points. Jason Tatum is another hot name there. Maybe you want to get in on some of the play-in action. Maybe you're a big believer in the Pistons and you want to go with Cade Cunningham. Did they actually go in the play-in or did they make the official bracket? I think they might have made the official bracket. I don't know. But you can get see the lineup action for yourself. Maybe put Connor McDavid into your hockey lineup. Hey, got Gabriel Landeskog coming back for the Avalanche. What's that going to mean? You can see all the action for yourself and even join in on promos like Taco Tuesday, where they discount player projections up to 25% for even more value. And payouts are fast, safe, and secure. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. This is the Locked On Rockies podcast. Thanking you again for making us your first listen to of the day. Free and streaming on your favorite streaming services. Hey, thanks again. I really appreciate it. I was going off a tangent. I kind of went on some other stuff. I know there was a lot of comments yesterday, so really appreciate all the Rockies fans firing off those hot takes. Letting me know what's on your mind, how you're feeling right now during this stretch of Rockies baseball. And it's interesting. It's interesting to see with how much times that we have called for change and seen if there be change. And again, I acknowledge how weird that is. It's really weird to talk about changing of people's jobs, calling for people's jobs. It's a weird thing to do in this industry. It really is icky. That's why I guess it's like, in part of it, it's like maybe I shouldn't be calling for some things, but it's some things need to change. It's clear that the Rockies need to change, whether it be people own or themselves needing to change, whether it be, putting different people in different positions to see if it works. And that change might be coming for the Colorado Rockies. Spilly on the, I believe, I can't remember exactly what show it was, but it was retweeted by Mile High Sports. So I'm assuming it was on one of their programs there over there on Mile High Sports. And Spilly is talking about how frustrating and how tough this open has been, and that change might be coming for the Rockies if things continue to go at this pace. If things, and even using the word embarrassing in his words to describe what's been going on with the Rockies and what the discussion around the Rockies is. he said that there could be some change coming sooner rather than later if this is going to continue with the Colorado Rockies. If this continues to be how the season starts unfolding here, there's going to there from him at least, he says there might be change. And like I said, something different has to start happening because the energy is low, the performance is low, the expectations are low. There's so many things that are low right now that you can't allow this to continue. If you can't allow this to be the status quo. You can't allow this to be where the Rockies are at and where the Rockies stay for an entire season. It's still early enough to start making this less painful. But you have to live again in the world where your team sets the wrong type of history. And how many more times are you going to be okay with setting franchise records for longest consecutive scoreless inning streak and worst start in franchise history? How long are you okay with that stuff? That's a question for the organization. Folks, that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Thank you so much for making us your first listen of the day. We're free and streaming on your favorite streaming services. For your second listen of the day, go check out Locked On MLB, the Locked On MLB Squad Show dropping today as well. If you need more Colorado sports coverage, Locked On Broncos, Avalanche, Nuggets, Buffs. Lots going on in the world of Colorado sports. We got you covered here on the Locked On Podcast Network. And until next time, I'm Paul Holden saying so long from the Locked On Rockies podcast.